The roots of the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians run deep, and they are incredibly complex, and they date back decades. And we want to talk more about the history and how we got here and where peace efforts stand. Hurd is with me here in studio. He's the director of the Weinberg College Center for International and Area Studies at Northwestern University. Thank you. I think it's important that we step back from what we're seeing play out on our screens and understand why it's happening and how far back it goes. And a question that I'm getting so often now is, where did Hamas come from? When did they start? And who's in charge of this terrorist group?
Yeah, you're right. It's really important to understand the context, and it does go back decades. And the basic issue here is a fight over who controls the area, the geography, the territory, and the people. And when Israel was founded, it took over space that already had people living there, and hundreds of thousands of people were displaced into neighboring countries to make room for the new country. The roots of this conflict really go to that, since you've got a lot of people who have been shuffled around because of geopolitics to make space for other folks. So today, what we're feeling are the reverberations of the attempts to control the territory by different groups. And Hamas is just one of the political groups, one of the kind of factions that controls part of the Palestinian territory, and they're struggling against the Israeli government over who gets to control the Gaza Strip.
So it's about land, but it's also about religion. Hamas has come out and said they want to eliminate all Jews. So there's that complexity to this as well.
Well, it's about land, and it's also about conflicts between people and governments, people and their governments. So most people in the region of all stripes want to just live their regular lives. But people often end up living under governments that they don't have a say in, and the governments take actions that make life harder for people. I think that's happened on both sides here, where most people just want to live together. The Israeli government has a kind of stranglehold over what happens in the Gaza Strip because of the way the geography is organized. So it controls everything that goes in and goes out, every person, all the water, the mail, the electronics. So they have a kind of tight control over the Gaza Strip, and that makes the people in there feel like their lives are controlled by this Israeli government, and they're chafe against that. So the control over people and territory is really the heart of the problem.
Which is why we've seen Israel's ability to cut off those resources now, and people are without food, water, medical supplies. But how do the Palestinians view Hamas?
Well, I imagine that's as complex as how Americans view the American government, or perhaps even closer, how Americans view the Republican Party, because it's really just one faction of the political system. So the views are probably all over the place. The sense that I get is that what most Palestinians want is the capacity to live decent lives, unencumbered by either Hamas extremists or the Israeli government's kind of chokehold over the territory. So if there is a peaceful solution, it's going to come as those authorities kind of loosen their control over people's lives so that people can just get on with living their regular existence.
And such a grind right now in what we're seeing in conversations around this is, can you be pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian but denounce the atrocities that we saw Hamas militants, terrorists carry out? Two can be true at the same time.
Absolutely. And it's actually not that hard, as you just said it. So you can be in favor of people living their lives and denounce atrocities at the same time. That's quite easy to do. The problem is if one government is trying to kind of dominate the narrative to the exclusion of all others. So I think one way to see this is to look at the side of the regular people, the people who are suffering in all parts of the region because of this conflict. The violence is making life harder for everybody, and we see the echoes of that even here in Chicago, and we see it around the world. It's making life harder. The choices aren't being made by the people, they're being made by these governments, and they don't necessarily have the welfare of the people in mind. So let's support the people, as you say, and denounce atrocity, and hope that the governments get the message.
And this is a regional issue. You talk about the geopolitics, but what is the role of an Egypt, of a Jordan, of a Lebanon, a Syria in this scenario?
Absolutely, and of America and of so many other countries, right? So this looks like a local conflict over who controls this territory, but it's so thoroughly internationalized that it's really a global issue.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.